It is so wet outside because Vancouver is finally getting rain. Oh man, it's coming in the middle of August, isn't it? We have an extended amount of pitter-patter outside, so if you end up hearing a lot of that on the microphone, that's my bad. I can't really edit that out. You get what I'm saying? I record right beside a window. But anyways, today we are talking about the Vancouver Canucks and one of the guys that has been on the more intriguing side of discussions. He's a player that's really good when it comes to producing points. He's also a player that's really good when it comes to stirring up controversy, either due to his lack of back-checking, his yelling at his teammates, the idea that goes around that he is not a good teammate in the locker room, and how he manifests a lot of the negative emotions he feels out there on the ice. Today we are talking about 99-point scorer himself, JT Miller. And the interview he did that was published yesterday on the Cam Strick Podcast that has everybody on the Vancouver social media scene talking about it. So, what exactly is the scoop here? Well, Miller did make an appearance on the Cam Strick show. It's hosted by Cam Jansen and Andy Strickland. The episode is going to be linked in the description. It's 2 hours and 53 minutes long, but I will say that the Miller interview isn't for the entire episode. It's not a 3-hour conversation with the guy. It's cut off maybe around the 2/3 mark over there. But either way, JT Miller did have himself an extended interview with the Cam Strick Podcast talking about different things like his upbringings in the NHL, what it was like being a Ranger, how it was like being a Lightning, how he made the transition personally and family-wise to Vancouver, and he had some things to say as well just about the Canucks and their scene. So what I wanted to do was go over a few articles talking about the quotes. The reason I'm using these articles is because having the quotes written out and screenshotted for you, it's easier for me, it's easier for everybody involved here, and it gives some very lovely writers in the city their dues as well. Miller talks, firstly, about how he lives in West Van, and just the entire community over there, what the team goes out there and says in response to this fact. We're heading over onto Rob Williams' piece on Daily Hive because the quotes here are pretty self-explanatory. Miller says that Tampa Bay was the most blue-collared place he'd played in. He compared Vancouver to New York City, saying it's kind of similar, just a lot less people. You get used to it, but where I come from, it's a lot different. I like playing in Canada. Definitely, it's a passionate fan base. And that fan base bleeds into where Miller actually lives. He lives on the North Shore. While many of Miller's teammates live downtown, close to Rogers Arena, he and his family live in West Van, and he says he's the only member of the team that lives in the area. I can have downtime for sure. I live in West Van, so I'm on the North Shore, and I'm the only guy over there. It reminds me of home a little bit more. It's peaceful, and it's quiet. The people that live over there, it's an older crowd. It's not like downtown. They're very respectful. It's more of a nice game, or nice turnover, or whatever the hell they want to say, but it's quick and to the point. On this, Miller says that he doesn't really mind getting chirped. Listen, they're passionate. I wouldn't have it any other way. This is such a funny comment, how his neighbors go out there and tell him either nice game or nice turnover, because realistically, Miller's kind of poking a bit of fun at himself here. He recognizes that he has these moments that are noteworthy enough that saying nice turnover to the guy is not too rare of an occurrence. I mean, is anybody going to go out there and tell him that he's wrong? At least he's got a sense of humor about it, right? Miller also says that he gets chirped by his own teammates. The guys give me a hard time all the time for commuting an hour in and out, but it's not that bad. It takes me probably 15 to 20 minutes in the morning and then 15 to 20 minutes post-game. I guess the hard part is it's called the Lionsgate Bridge. It's going from downtown to the North Shore. It can be a blank show, no doubt. It's only 3 lanes. You've got the Vancouver Island traffic, the Whistler traffic. Like I said, a lot of people in a small place. And yeah, I mean, I guess living in the West Side definitely does have its benefits, especially since you have to have a certain amount of money and income to be able to afford a place there anyway. But the Lionsgate Bridge, definitely not fun. You also had yourselves conversations that Miller had about the media. This is the intriguing part, that more people were talking about than any of the other topics here. He loves the passionate fans, but when it comes to the media and the market, Miller says it's toxic and negative out there. It feels like everyone is always looking for something to grab onto. I have way too much pride to kiss the media's ass, and I'd rather stir the pot. He also says that he can't stand some of the media folk here. And you know what? I love that he goes out there and says that, because you can tell that from Miller's personality, That's not all too surprising to hear about. He's definitely a lot more of the outspoken ones in this team, and he definitely has his fair share of passion that he displays on the ice and off the ice. He goes out there and talks about how some of the media is really looking for their headlines, and how you have some media people going out there extending circumstances to the point where it's unnecessarily talked about. I mean, I'm not going to go out there and pretend that I'm not guilty of this as well. I definitely have had my fair share of pushing and pulling things a little bit too far just to create a headline out of it. But Miller is going out there and saying that the Vancouver media as a whole is not the most calming environment to be around, and I definitely do understand where he's coming from. In regards to taking things out of context and blowing things out of proportion, he actually goes over the entire Colin Delia situation, and he even addresses the video of him and Luke Shen talking it out too, says that that wasn't really that big of a deal, and he explained his side of the Delia situation, also talked about how he apologized to everybody involved for making them look bad. And so with Miller going out there and just kind of clearing the air here, it was nice to go out there and hear his perspectives on a lot of these bigger issues that we had seen pop up throughout the course of the season. In fact, Miller says that this previous season was one that he probably wants to forget about because it was so bad when it comes to the on-ice performance of the team. He thinks that they're going to get better under Rick Tocchet and that he feels that they're running better systems, so next season we're hopefully going to see bigger and better things out of not just Miller himself, but the rest of the team too. And of course, when it comes to JT, the guy literally had 99 points in 2021-2022. This season we did see a decline, but that's more than okay considering he still had himself the 82-point mark on the season, so he's okay when it comes to point production. You could talk about the back-checking, the consistency, the reliability in his own end, etc., etc., but at the end of the day, I mean, Miller is a talented player when it comes to producing. He was one of the top players in the NHL for shorthanded points too, so the defensive side of his game definitely came out more so than in years prior. So for JT, all in all, he's a guy that's a really intriguing player profile to follow, especially since he is coming up to his 30-year-old season in the NHL, making that $8 million AAV. We'll see what happens with him as his career goes on in Vancouver because he's locked on until 2030, but for now I will leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to the podcast, that in which has Miller and the comments. Just some other things that I wanted to talk about as well. There's a really deep dive that Miller gives when it comes to being a Ranger, being a Lightning, Alain Vigneault, and the way that he was able to be coached back then. He talks about the growth and development that he had as a member of those organizations. He talks about the Miller trade rumors, which is actually something that I didn't really want to talk about because we've talked about that so much over the past few years. Miller also talks a little bit about his own family situation and how it's nice having his parents be interested in paying attention to his kids, etc., etc. The funniest part about this entire segment, though, which happens at around the 2-hour, 1-minute mark of the podcast, is that Miller ends off this entire thing by hitting us all with a "I'll tell you that for free." And that right there got Canucks fans up in a blaze. Here's the Chris Faber tweet that brought it all to everybody's attention. LOL at Miller dropping an "I'll tell you that for free" in his podcast hit. That sentence will always be funny now. And yeah, it is. I don't want to go out there and say that Miller was directly taking a shot at Horvat when he said that, but I don't know, the way he said it, it felt so natural, and at the end of the sentence too, it kind of gets me thinking, I don't know, maybe Bo Horvat stole the saying from Miller when he was traded to New York and ended up saying that to all the fans there on the island. Who really knows if it was part of one's vocabulary more than the other, but either way, we did hear ourselves, and "I'll tell you that for free" dropped out by Miller, so that is very funny if you're keeping up with the Vancouver Canucks lore. But either way, JT had a really good podcast hit. The link is in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to it yourself. If there's anything else you want to talk about in regards to this interview, you want to talk more so about the Lightning days, the Ranger days, and the trade rumors and all that, then hey, feel free to leave those thoughts in the comments section below. I'm interested in hearing what y'all are interested in talking about in regards to this interview, but it's a really good one. The Cam Strick guys do some pretty good work, and their podcast is always a pleasure to listen to, so let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you feel about this entire Miller interview on the podcast? If you listen to it, let me know in the comments section as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.